Welcome back to another episode of Grizzly True Crime. My name is Gisela K, and today, of course, I've got a presentation for you. Now we're going to break down everything that we learned yesterday in that 47-page medical examiner's report relating to the death of Brian Laundrie. That was highly detailed, and we learned a few things, and a few moments were like, what? So I decided, okay, let's break it down. So yesterday we broke it down together, line by line, until my voice went away. And today what we're going to do is sort of a summary, but looking just a little bit deeper at all those details. So I hope you are as excited as me. If you are new here, then hello and welcome to the Grizzly community. I hope that you enjoyed this video. And of course, if you do enjoy stuff like this, then you know what to do. Okay, let's get started. Okay, as always, I'm just going to make myself just a little bit smaller over here so that we can actually see what the heck is going on with this thing that I've taken all day to prepare for you. I do love making these for you, but it does take a lot of time. But I think it's well spent. What do you think? Let me know. You'll let me know in the comments if you like these types of presentations. So Brian Laundrie, full medical examiner's report. This is not, don't worry, we're not going to read through it all again. This is going to be like with pictures, you know, all kinds of stuff that I'm sure you'll enjoy. So let's get started with that. So yes, of course, this is a picture of Brian Laundrie. I think he's eating dim sum there. I really do like dim sum. How about you? So these are the coordinates that they gave us in that medical examiner's report of exactly where Brian Laundrie's remains were found. Now, there is a 500-foot little circle you could draw around this because things were a little bit scattered, and we're going to go through that in detail in a moment. But those were the coordinates. I typed them in for you. I wanted to show you because most of the time, I'm pretty sure it's not only me, but this friggin' little swampy area, I think we all recognize it by the weird shape that's the water forms here from Google Earth and Google Maps. You can make of it what you want. I think it looks like a jellyfish, okay? But I'm like, oh, the jellyfish swamp, there we go. But it was just slightly more here, as you can see. A little bit more inward into the bushes, which is interesting. I thought it was like, you know, from when we all did it, the map time and everything. Let's look here. And where the tent was set up, I think we were like, yeah, it was around here, you know? And like, how did they miss it and all that? But it was in these bushes right there. So, hey, I'm glad for map times purposes that they actually gave us the exact coordinates because we like that. We do like precise details. Yes, we do. Okay. So that is where it is, and you can see Big Slough Canal is to the east there. They still say this was in the Mayakahatchee Creek environment. Oh, I'm out of practice. I'm getting rusty with this. Remember how good I got at saying it? Mayakahatchee Creek Environmental Park. And also the Carlton Reserve. They quote different things, but it's kind of along the Big Slough Canal and the Big Slough Preserve. But you know what I mean. So yes, I put a picture of Brian there because that's where it was. And then the Mustang was parked around here, which we've gone into detail. If you missed that, don't worry. It's all on the playlist. I've done an entire map time of exactly where the Mustang was parked, how it was parked. He actually backed it in. So there was that. But you can see just now from everything you've seen, all the aerial footage and everything, that is where the car was parked. Now, hello to the wild boar. Should we name him? What's his name? Anytime I don't know the name for something, I'm like, Freddy. Is that you, Freddy? Okay. So the main scene and secondary scene. Now, if you don't remember or didn't watch yesterday's episode where we went through every page, they talked about the two sites where remains and personal effects were found being the main scene and a secondary scene. So we're going to look at both of these now. So they say the area had previously been under approximately 3 foot, which is 0.9 meters. 0.9. Yeah, 3 foot, 0.9 meters of water. Okay, walking or vehicular trail led to the scene. So he walked there along one of those trails. Skeletal remains and personal effects were in plain sight and scattered upon the dirt ground. It's kind of interesting. You know, did they float for a while? Did they not? Personal effects were in plain sight and scattered upon the dirt ground. Okay. Orange flags indicated human and or animal remains, and red flags indicated personal effects. Okay, so let's look at the details of what all these things that they found were. First, we'll look at the scene. I know I've shown these photographs before. Let me move myself so we can give the photographer full credit. James Breeden for dailymail.com. Okay, I'm not trying to cover his name up. I'm just putting myself in a convenient spot here. I can make myself a little bigger too if you want. Okay, so this was the scene, the area where Brian Laundrie had his last moments on planet Earth. It is very peaceful looking, but now it's got like a weird, eerie vibe, right? See, they conveniently blur out the background there. Now we can't see. What is there? I know they don't want us to see, and they also blanked out the crime scene photos from that medical examiner's report. But it's okay. We accept that. But here is an example of a flag. To me, this looks neither red nor orange, but okay. Maybe this is what they call an orange flag. To me, this is a yellow flag. But you let me know. This is also a green flag. These were the initial pictures released as like crime scene photos, or not even crime scene. It wasn't crime scene photos. It was the photos released from where Brian Laundrie's remains were found. So they said red and they said orange, but now we've already seen yellow and green. So there's obviously, these must be flags to mark the way to those orange and red flags. That's what I would assume. And then this was just a close-up again of what looks to be like orange spray paint again. Remember, we saw that at Gabby Petito's crime scene. The orange spray paint, which was kind of markings to go in and out of the crime scene. So maybe that's what this is too. I'm just showing you the photos that I've shown you before, because these are the only photos we have of this scene. Okay, are we ready now for the details, the deep dive? Here we go. I'm going to take myself off the screen for this. Oh, yes, I am. Okay, so at the main scene, on the left-hand side, you have a diagram listing all the bones, okay? So the main scene, oh, maybe I'll have to put myself back. Hold on. At the main scene, there were the left and right scapula. So look up here, right at the top, the left and right scapula, the right humerus. Okay, we're looking for it. Spot it first. You see that long arm bone? The humerus. The left and right femur, which now I've got to move myself, which are those long leg bones. 2 tibias, 2 fibulas, which you can also follow along. Tibia and fibula. Yes. And then there's 2 pelvi, 1 right ulna. Is that how we pronounce that? An ulna. Ulna. I'll go this way. Now where's that? Oh, there we go. We've got the ulna there. Okay. 1 right radius. A sacrum. You can see the sacrum is listed over here. Multiple ribs. Multiple skull fragments. Maxilla and mandible. And 25 vertebrae. There was also at the main scene a pair of green shorts with a green belt, 2 slip-on shoes. So even when he was out there, like freaking surviving, you know, he was in flip-flops. Never liked those hiking shoes, did he? A backpack with unknown contents, they said initially. Later it gets cleared up. A white metal ring, and you guys are right in the comments that this means, usually it would mean silver. They don't want to say silver or gold. They say white, or what would they say for gold? Would they say yellow? But they don't want to say silver because they don't know what that metal is made of. So a white metal ring and a European American Arms 38 Special 357 Magnum Windicator revolver. Oh, so it's not a 9mm. And we're going to look in detail at this weapon as well. They also later located 2 left arm bones from the scene. Okay, so let's look at the details here. I put the picture of the skull in the center, okay? And they say 20 feet south of the cranial fragments. So the cranial is the skull fragments. 20 feet south of that was a pair of green shorts with a green belt, a white metal ring, 2 slip-on shoes. I don't know if they were green. This is just a picture that I put to, you know, to make the outfit match. The flip-flops were found 10 feet apart. And here is the weapon that was found. And then 10 to 20 feet west of the cranial fragments, they found a backpack. And in the backpack was a tent and flares. So that hadn't been unpacked. He hadn't pitched a tent, which makes me really think, like, maybe he really went out there on the 13th and that was it. Or do you think, is it your belief that he went out there and only when they found Gabby Petito's remains, that's when he called it quits? Because I'm not too sure. I'm not decided on that. You know, he might have unpacked the tent and put it back in his backpack. He could have done that, you know, during the evenings, besides the day that he decided that was it. It's over for him. And then, let me move myself here. 50 to 60 feet south of the handgun was the projectile in 6 inches of dirt. So that is literally what the projectile looks like. I found it specifically for this weapon. And yeah, it was found in 6 inches of dirt. I suppose from its movement. Then 250 feet east from the secondary scene was a half handwritten note and a red cap with the logo Moab Coffee Roasters in a grassy area. You can see I'm a visual learner, huh? I hope you are too, because that's what this is. Okay. And then what we have 250 feet southwest from the secondary scene was a dry bag, and in it was a wooden box. Okay, wait, first in it was a journal and a wooden box, and in the wooden box was a little notebook. So in fact, there's many places you could have written something or taken accountability or responsibility for Gabby Petito's death. One was this half-written note found in the grassy area along with a Moab Coffee Roasters cap. That's interesting that those two are together. 250 feet east from the secondary scene. Okay. Then we have the journal, and there's also a little notebook. So there's 3 places in which he could have written things. Now, remember when we looked at that dry bag previously? I'm pointing in the wrong direction all the time. That just looked like something rectangular, like something... I was like, is it square? Is it rectangular? Is it... What is it? I couldn't figure it out, but clearly it's a wooden box, right? Because they said in that dry bag was a wooden box. And in the wooden box, a little notebook, a photograph of Brian Laundrie, and other photographs. But they didn't disclose what those other photographs were of. I would assume of his family, or maybe of Brian Laundrie. Maybe it's all these photos, like from when he was a kid, or we just don't know. So this must be Freddie and Eddie, or what? There were incomplete skeletons of 2 wild boar, and they said 1 cow or bull were found near Brian's remains. Now, the wild boar, I completely understand. I've looked at the Carlton Reserve, the Mayakahachi Creek Environmental Park, the Big Sloop Reserve. I've looked at what kind of wildlife you can expect to find there. The one thing I can't find is why there's a freaking cow there. I don't know. Cows were lost there. I've read up a whole bunch of the history of the area in like the 1930s. So I don't know how old those bones were, or if it really... Are there cows there? For you guys that live out there, are there cattle walking around in this... area or not? Because I was just confused about that. The boars, yeah, okay, they were there. That makes sense. And also, it is a little bit strange though. We're going to go over the details of the weapon now. I don't want to say the GUN word, otherwise that's going to freaking trigger YouTube, but like the weapon. Hope that doesn't trigger it. So it's interesting that the weapon was a 6-round weapon. In it were 2 rounds of live ammunition and 1 spent one. But if there were 6 rounds, then surely there's 3 missing, and I see 3 animals' remains that were also found there. I'm not saying that he did kill them, shoot them, whatever, but he might have. I don't know. Maybe he only took 3 rounds. I don't know. Now, at the secondary scene, there were skeletal animal remains, a handwritten half note, and a hat with the logo Moab Coffee Roasters. Okay, so I found that quite interesting. Sorry that it's cut off a little bit there. But Moab Coffee Roasters? That's the cap you're taking out there with your green outfit? You got a green backpack, green shorts, green belt. You got your slip-on shoes. Who knows what happened to his shirt? They don't mention a shirt. Okay. And then you've got this hat that you conveniently put away from the scene where you took your own life that says Moab Coffee Roasters. And that's where it seems to be that a lot of the fights started. You know what I mean? It seems a little symbolic. And I mean, I don't want to give Brian too much credit, but he was quite arty and symbolic, wasn't he? Now, the dry bag that was located in it, as we saw, was a journal, a wooden box with a small notebook, and a photo of Brian and more photos. Now, if we just look at where on the map, yes, it's map time, where was Moab Coffee Roasters? So you can see right down here at the bottom, wait, I'm going to fly. Okay, here we go. Right here is the Moab Coffee Roasters. Across the road is the Moonflower Co-op. And of course, as we know, just up the road is the Bowen Motel. They are all so close to each other. And apparently, Gabby and Brian were hanging out at the Moab Coffee Roasters that morning on August 13th. No, on August 12th. There we go. Timeline's all just rushing back at me. I'm just like, on August 12th, they were hanging out here at Moab Coffee Roasters. That's where they were using the Wi-Fi and stuff, and then later went across to the Moonflower Co-op. And then that whole fight broke out, and they got pulled over by the police, and there's that whole thing. If you also missed me reading the entire Moab Police Investigative Report, yes, I will make sure that's also linked below for you in the playlist. Then you could check that out. So yes, and it was confirmed that Kylan and Crystal saw them that day. So that's interesting. We'll get more into that in a moment. Even though Brian Laundrie's been ruled out as a suspect in their murders. In my mind, I won't be all that surprised if it's like one day they pipe up like, actually, he was responsible. I'll be like, I knew it. Okay, so let's have a look at the weapon. A European American Arms 38 Special 357 Magnum Windicator revolver. The cost is around $260 to $300. I see some places also listed for like $360 or $380. Of course, they just make it money. But this is the average cost from what I've researched. And in Brian's one, there were 2 live rounds and 1 spent ammunition. So maybe he really only took 3 rounds of ammunition with him. What I found interesting is that they said it had extensive rust. Now, I am no gun expert, but do you think, I mean, his body decomposed hectically in a short space of time, so maybe the gun could have also rusted? But so rusty? After like 6 weeks or so? I don't know about that. Let me know what you think. I don't know. I'm not trying to throw out any wild speculations. I'm just like, had extensive rust. You could also see it's quite a small gun. It's usually used for self-defense, and it's nice and easy to conceal, to carry around with you. And I put this picture here of Gabby just for the sake of, I know a lot of people have shown this picture. It's from Gabby and Brian's TikTok, Nomadic Static. And it's that one TikTok, in case you were like me and you're like, where is this one still image? Where she shows that whole bunch of like Polaroid pictures. And then if you just pause it, you eventually get to this picture. So you let me know if you think this weapon looks like the one we're discussing now. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, very, very similar though. I mean, it is small. Yep, it is similar in size. I just feel like the barrel could be slightly longer in the one she's holding, but I don't know. Let me know what you think. Now we're going to look at the missing bones. 1 mandibular tooth, 5 maxillary teeth. So it seems like the front teeth. 5 cranial facial bone fragments, the hyoid bone, thyroid and cricoid or chrysoid cartilages, the xiphoid process, which is actually the breastbone. It's where the ribs connect to the breastbone, ethmoid and lacrimal bones, and both patella. And the picture on the right is of a kneecap, which is the patella. And in so many true crime cases that I've studied, there's always a patella. So I'm quite shocked that there's no patella here. What? But maybe, there was a lot of gnawing and chewing going on from animals. So maybe that's what happened to them. Maybe they decided, I'm going to take that hyoid bone and everything else they listed there. I don't know about the teeth, where those were. But yeah, maybe animals walked off with some of the stuff. It's just like they took the patella? What? Anyway. Okay. So now Brian's parents said that Brian left the house on September 13th to hike in the Carlton Reserve. The Mustang was located at the park on Tuesday the 14th and then driven back home, which I find really weird. I know that there was apparently a note left on the car and that was asked to remove, the car. But I'm like, so you drove the car back home, knowing your son was out there, which to me still feels like his initial plan was probably just to hang out there for a while until he could come out of hiding. You know what I mean? But that plan did not work out. And then he was reported missing on Friday the 17th. They said their son was very healthy. He had no known medical history, did not take any medications, had no primary care physician, last visited the dentist on the 11th of the 6th, 2014, and no, it is not an uncle. I didn't want to put her name up here, did I? Did I put her name up here later? I don't know. I don't think so. But it's listed in the medical report if you want to look up the dentist that actually gave the report from when he last visited. And they said the parents would not comment on his social history. They did not want to provide that information. So what is social history? So thank you to see. This is why I like your comments. Because so many of you were like, no, social history, especially in the USA, means his history with drug or alcohol abuse or things like that. Interesting. Very interesting. And that really got me thinking. So we'll look at that in a moment. So here I say, remember when Hunter Mannies said he saw Brian, so the man who saw Brian in Bullwinkles on August 26th drinking alone? I know that didn't quite fit the timeline, but you never know. He's a little bit of a loose cannon from August 12th onwards, right? We don't know too much about him before. Little bits. We've looked at his time in high school and everything. Like literally everything's on the playlist. We've deep dived this case like none other. And yes, this man in Bullwinkles saw someone who said he was from New York, said his name was Brian, drinking alone, being very angry with the world. Okay. And then it's also been confirmed that Brian and Gabby were at Woody's Tavern on August 13th. So when they were stopped on August 12th and Gabby said, no, we don't drink, my thinking process is the fact that the parents would not comment on his social history is that maybe he had a drinking problem before. Maybe. That's my speculation. And that he became a little bit unhinged from all the stress, from his rage bubbling up, from all sorts of stuff, going on the trip. So, I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. Of course, that's just my opinion, and I'm just speculating. So remember when Cassie said in that interview, he always comes home when he, and then she didn't want to finish the sentence. I mean, I'm thinking when he starts drinking again, or when he, what? When he what? I know we've discussed that one at length, but I'm like, when he what? Because I would just be like, whoa, if he started drinking again and getting violent and needing a timeout, that would actually make sense to me, because sometimes those go hand in hand, right? Not always, just sometimes. Now, if we look at the toxicology testing results for Brian Laundrie, which we looked at yesterday, comprehensive drug screening, bone, right proximal femur, said substance not applicable, none detected, and the costal cartilage, not applicable, none detected. So I looked at what costal cartilage is, and I'm showing it here to you. It's around the rib area. Costal cartilage. Interesting. And this is for drug screen. But the thing is that they only found skeletal remains. So as far as I understand, they wouldn't know if he drank. And if they didn't tell us for all those weeks or months that there was a gun right there, they didn't tell us. They just omitted to tell us that, right? We were all wondering, where's the gun and what's happening with the gun? So they also said they only found partial human remains. Meanwhile, they found the whole freaking skeleton. So do you really think if there was a bottle of tequila or Jack Daniels or whatever the heck next to him, that they would tell us, oh yeah, and there was also an empty bottle of something next to him? No, they wouldn't tell us that. You know what I mean? At this point, I'm just like, they've omitted so many things already. He could have been drunk at that moment to help the situation. I know there's a lot of cases where people take their own lives where they drink a lot before the time to make it easier, which sounds really harsh. I'm so sorry. This is a very triggering topic. Trigger warning, everyone. My word. I should have said that at the beginning. It's a true crime channel. But yes, and it's in my description box. But it's for adults only. Okay, trigger warning. I'm just wondering if he could have maybe had, even Xanax in his system, or... But I suppose that would be picked up in a drug screen. But alcohol, would that be picked up in this? I'm not too sure. No drugs, but maybe alcohol. Okay, so now we're going to go over what they listed there as axial development defects, because I was kind of interested in that, like, what is that? So I've again shown you some diagrams over here. They say bifurcated superior facet on C1. Now, bifurcated means it kind of branches off from what I read. Sternal aperture and asymmetry of coccygeal segment. The right mandibular ramus was 12 millimeters shorter than the left. So that is interesting too, because this mandibular ramus, as you can see in the picture next to me, was shorter. I know it's probably mirroring it for you, but shorter on the left-hand side than the right. And then his right clavicle, these were 10 millimeters shorter on the left. So right mandibular ramus shorter on the left, right clavicle shorter on the left, and then the deltoideus muscle was more pronounced on the left. Okay, and the costal cartilage calcifications were on his right and left ribs. Now, if you look that up, because you know how Dr. Google, if you look up things like typing in medical terms, it comes up with so many very big diagnoses. But that is pretty interesting. It came up with Graves' disease, rickets, all kinds of things that I found that I'm like, I don't know, that's a whole rabbit hole. But remember that time when we analyzed his walking pattern from the van towards the cops again? Like, whoa, his legs looked like they were really in pain, or just really strange walking. So you just never know if that was from these axial development defects. I don't know. Could be. But yes, I just thought I'd show you a diagram so that we can actually learn together what on earth are they talking about there. So the clavicle, you can see there. You can see a bigger diagram of the humerus, the ulna, all these bones we've just been talking about. So yeah, the left one was shorter than the right one. And then they also said the deltoid muscle connecting to the clavicle, so you can see it here above me, was more pronounced on the one side than the other, on the left side. Interesting. So now we know. I don't know what to make of it. I'm just letting you know. Now, was he right-handed? I find it interesting that Cassie was the one to say that he was right-hand dominant, but after investigating, was he, and finding all the pictures I possibly could to prove to you that he really was, because I saw there was some speculation going on of maybe he was actually left-handed. But if we look at him painting, he's using his right hand. He's eating a melon. Okay, melon boy. He's eating the melon here with a spoon in his right hand. To me, that's like, okay, no, he's right-handed. Again, I'm just joking. But yes, you can just see it there. And on the right-hand side, he's actually cutting a pear with a knife in his right hand. So to me, this means, yep, he's right-handed. But what do you think? So here we can also see him holding sushi sticks. I don't think you're going to put that in your non-dominant hand. Yes, in the right hand. He's holding it could be sparkling water for all we know, but a champagne glass when Gabby and Brian got engaged, in his right hand. He's doing that there with his right hand. And then, of course, with a phone that he doesn't have, he's got it in his right hand, ready to type with that thumb. So, yes, he was right-handed. So Cassie was right. He's right-hand dominant. Now, why are we looking at that? Why? There's a little bit of a frenzy going on here. I mean, I found it pretty weird. That he used his non-dominant hand to end his life with a gun. You know why? It's not about, let me put the next slide up. It's not because, wait, there's a fun fact coming up. And then I'll go into that. Fun fact, so is his dad. His dad is also right-handed. Look at him with a hammer there. No trespassing. Look at him sweeping there. You can't really tell exactly. But look at him over here. Mowing that lawn. Right-hand dominant. My favorite picture of him is still that one sprinting across the lawn when he grabbed, I don't know, all those yellow flags and things and just was sprinting across the lawn. That picture is a little bit funny. Sorry, but it is. So now we're going to get into this just for a second, right? So it's not crazy, just a little bit uncommon to use one's non-dominant hand in a moment like that, right? So the reason I say that is because it's a very dark and important moment in one's life if you've chosen to end it. Like, it's very odd to me that he would use his non-dominant hand. What do you think? Now, I know that some of you have explained it in the comments at length of how that could have worked out, why he might have done that. And we could go in so many directions just looking at that fact. I mean, maybe it's just like, that's what he chose to do. Still find it a little bit weird. So, what I'm thinking is that, what was his right hand doing? Okay, now I'm not going to get too into this because it's probably a little bit inappropriate. Wild theory, and I want you to come up with this by yourself and keep it to yourself type of thing. It's just a thought, okay? So remember, his favorite author of all time was Chuck Palahniuk. I say Palahniuk, but you guys say Palahniuk is his name. That's his favorite author. He took his books with him everywhere. He posted about it. He read them everywhere, in the hammock, in the van. He had a whole collection. Loved this author. So I started on a very strange thought pattern of, let's not even argue about why one might use his non-dominant hand for the gun. It's a very small gun, which is also why I looked at maybe Christopher Laundrie was left-handed and maybe his dad taught him how to use the gun and maybe he was left-handed, so he just thought that's how he has to do it. Nope, Christopher Laundrie is right-handed too. So no, I ruled that one out for myself. So then I'm like, okay, and it shouldn't bug one so much. It doesn't matter, but it's interesting. Nonetheless, it's a little bit interesting because it's just a little odd, and this whole case has been a little odd, and Brian is extremely odd, right? Can we agree on that? It's been very strange. And so we have to sometimes just think about these things speculatively, right? So I'm like, okay, it's not about why was the gun in his non-dominant hand. For me, it's what was he doing with his dominant hand? And there are some theories that I have. One, he could have been holding a bottle of something and drinking it while using the gun. Could have been doing that. Two, he could have been writing something or doodling at the time, because we don't know if he was standing or sitting or what he was doing. We don't know that. So he could have been scribbling to distract himself. Or three, he could have done what a book like this might suggest. Maybe. And if you go and read this for yourself, I think you'll figure it out of what I'm saying. I would not normally put theories like that out there, but I'm like, knowing him, he would want to make his leaving the planet quite artistic. Quite a statement, perhaps. One of my other thoughts was that maybe he wanted to use his non-dominant hand so that his mother or parents would think someone else did it. Or maybe he really did it to throw us all off and make us all do exactly this and talk about why would he do that, because it keeps the conversation going, and maybe he would think there's a small chance that people would think he didn't do it, so that maybe it's less humiliating for him in some way. I don't know. But yes, this book is called Haunted, and in it is a chapter, the first chapter, called Guts. And this chapter was actually published in Playboy magazine well before the book came out proper, presumably as a warning. He did readings of this book, Palahniuk himself, of it during his worldwide book tour for Diary, and over 80 people fainted. So it is very gory, very graphic, super, super duper trigger warning. Please just be careful with this book. I didn't read the whole book. I just read the whole synopsis because I was a little bit on a train of thought, and I'm like, it's not that far-fetched. What I was thinking, it's not that far-fetched. And if someone is a victim of a crime, one might not go down this route, but he's a murderer, allegedly, because he took responsibility. I hate the way they worded that. He took responsibility for Gabby Petito's death. Why can't they name him as he murdered Gabby Petito? Why can't they just say that? Can you just come out and say that? That would be great. But He's a murderer. And murderers do a lot of funny things. And I know at some point we were also speculating, what if he's a serial killer? He is that kind of type, He's a little bit that type. And based on the books he was reading, the slim chance that he could still possibly, maybe the 1% chance, be involved in other murders. Imagine if he turns out to be a serial killer, then this wouldn't surprise me at all, this type of thought. So you can go look for yourself and read between the lines of what I'm saying, but I'm like, interesting way to go, bro. Interesting way to go. Okay, so that is it for now. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope it got you thinking, or I hope it generates some interesting conversations. Please keep it grizzly in the comments. Let's not go off on a tangent. Don't say too many trigger words, otherwise YouTube will make sure this video goes absolutely nowhere. Otherwise it can be, ooh, like this one, red flag. This video is a red flag. It is not safe, and we want to keep this community safe and non-triggering and all that. It's an adult community for sure. It's true crime, but we've got to play by the rules. So there's that. Okay, thank you so much for all of you who watched this video, for your thumbs up, for your comments, for subscribing, and for all that. And of course, if you want to, you can join me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Everything is linked below as well. If you want to say thank you for the work that I do, the best way is PayPal, because it's directly, or buymeacoffee.com, which is also below, /Gisela K. Or of course, you can join Patreon or YouTube membership. There's 3 tiers on Patreon that you can choose from to see what you like. If you like to read my scripts, if you like to see some art, if you like to hear some live stream audio when I do those. I know I don't do that much anymore. It's just like, let's call it like, it's just a refining, of the work that I do. Because I love presentations and deep dives and things, and sometimes I just forget to go live. But yes, if you want some live stream audio, or if you want some podcast episodes, that's all on Patreon. And of course, if you're a YouTube member, then you get to use all those cool stickers. And here and there, I do some members only polls and things like that. And here and there, there's also some members only live streams. So that is that. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Remember to stay safe and be mindful of those red flags. See you soon.